Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the Gussets and Go Days podcast. My name is Christina and this is my podcast about my knitting, stitching and crafting. We are Pancake Day today. I don't know what the date is actually, but yeah, we're getting closer to spring, luckily, and I'm feeling invigorated to make, and I just wanted to jump in and show you some of the projects I'm working on before, especially this one, before I start cutting it up for a refashion. So let us begin. I finished this one recently. This is the latest pattern by Amy of the Little Tailoress Studio, and this is the Whitmore jumper, and it's beautiful. Gosh, I don't know what to say about it. I knit the small size. My bust is 42 inches and the pattern comes out at 41.5. That's not the pattern size it suggests for me. It's one size smaller. So I size down and I have ½ inch of negative ease at the bust. Sorry, those were bust measurements. So it's a snugger fit than it was designed to be. It's knit in Amy's yarn, which is Dandelion and Dogwood. It's the Maybe Baby colourway, and we're in Feather Down and Perfect Sock held together, and it's beautiful, really beautiful. It's knit from the top down, and it's a lace yoke. Because I made a smaller size, it's a little bit shallower, so I did not split where it suggested. I think it's somewhere around here. I knit the full yoke and then I did 1 inch, and that's when I split. I kept all the numbers the same. I didn't adjust the numbers at all. The only thing I did differently is I did decreases down the side. So on the side seams, I did decreases either side of my markers. I think I did 1 decrease on the side of the stitch marker every 7 rows. Instead of doing, on the pattern you decrease on this last row, so it's quite straight, and then you kind of pull it in on the ribbing, and I ended up on the ribbing with the same number of stitches, but I decreased through the body rather than above the rib. So it gives a little bit of a different silhouette, and then the sleeve is so lovely. Probably my favourite thing about this was the sleeves. I knew I would love the rest of it. I absolutely knew I would adore the lace, and I did. I enjoyed doing it, and I love the look. I was not sure on the sleeves. I knew I wanted to make them. Whether or not they'd be flattering, I didn't know, but they are. I really think they are so nice, very flattering. They're not like a super blouson and like hanging down. They're not getting in the soup at dinner kind of length. They are just a little tiny bit of volume and just good little puff. I added 2 inches extra in the length than the pattern suggests, and I did make the body shorter. Because it's top down, I just kept trying it on. I was giving a lot of details because a few people have asked me exactly what I did, and it is on my Ravelry page, so I made sure to go into a good amount of depth on my Ravelry project page if you want to check out what I've done. It's Gussets and Go Days on Ravelry as well. So, yay, this is my favourite thing ever. It fits me, I think, better than any other knitwear I've made. So yeah, oh, and the back. It's the same as the front, just plain. Done. I don't think I have anything else to say about it other than I love it so much. And it was definitely worth doing the 2 held together because it's so lovely and fuzzy. Oh, fuzzy. Okay, what else did I knit? I'm going to have to show you some photos of what I knit. So I knit Ray's hat, designed by Molly Klein Design. It is a ribbed hat, knit with one needle, one size of needle. You don't change throughout. And it is designed for her husband Ray. So it's designed as a man-friendly hat. And gosh, what did I do with this hat? I made it a little bit longer, so I lengthened that hat by 2 inches, just to give a tiny, teeny weeny bit of slouch. And of course, I put a pom-pom on it. It's a very, very pretty hat. I love it. Well, it's pretty, but in a masculine way. It's a handsome hat. If a hat can be handsome, it is. Very easy to wear. The reason I don't have it is because my colleague loved it so much and he looked so handsome in it that I let him pinch it. But he needed it. And he wears it every day and keeps it in his pocket. So, you know, amazing. Oh, where's the yarn? Oh, there it is. I've only got a smidgen left because I used it for the pom-pom. So, Gwalan, Cambrian wool from the flocks of Wales. Beautiful, such a beautiful wool. And DK weight. The hat was so quick to knit. It was a really lovely knit. And the sun ray zigzag is pretty, really just so effective. You can make it with the reverse stockinette showing, which is the inside, or the outside, which is the normal stockinette. I chose the normal stockinette just because with this yarn I just thought it looked nicer. On lots of the other people who've made it, it looked better on the reverse stockinette, I think, and that's what they did. Beautiful tealy colour. And this yarn, 100% wool, and the colour's Harbour. Harbour, number 5. So, yeah. Molly from Molly Klein Designs has very kindly offered a hat pattern, that hat pattern, to one of the followers of the podcast. So I'm going to ask her how she'd like to do that, and then I'll do that for the next episode. So maybe there'll be a question or something, and we can pop the answers down below in the comments. But that will be the next episode. Very, very kind of her, and it's such a worthwhile hat to knit. And there are not so many, you know, masculine friendly hats, to be honest. And it's an easy hat because I am not a very adventurous, accomplished knitter. So it was a really easy hat to do. I think I did it in a day. I think I got back from work and worked on it. Yeah, I did the most of it in one evening. So really speedy hat. Really enjoyed that. Okay, that is my knitting. I'm working on a cheeky little project, which I can only show you the smallest amount, but I've been working on a scrappy project and I've been making these little crocheted squares. I will share the pattern with you when it's been released. But I'm using, sorry, the hook is not there. I think it's a 3mm hook, and I've been using my scraps. So that's all I can show you so far, but it's a beautiful project that will utilise a solid colour and your scraps. And it's stunning. I absolutely adore it. And how different the yarn comes out in crochet than it does in knitting is always lovely to see. That's just a cheeky little sneak peek. It will be for a homewares project. Yeah. Okay, so this dress I made a few years ago. If I can find a photo, I'll pop it on the screen. But it's a wool suiting fabric, and it's a full skirt, and I love the full skirt, it's really flattering, but the top was problematic because firstly it's made very poorly. I was in a bit of a rush for time, so don't look inside, really don't look inside. Also, I can wear nothing on it, not a coat, not a cardigan, nothing, because the back has got the most massive bow in the world, and you also cannot sit nicely for any prolonged period of time because the bow is very uncomfortable, and also I cannot get in and out of it on my own because they are a very fitted sleeve, and then the zip goes all the way to the top. So I loved this dress, I loved wearing it, it was beautiful, it photographed very well for the purpose. It was for it was a blog tour where the Stitch Odyssey was showcasing people who'd made things from vintage patterns. So it was from a vintage pattern, and I think I was missing one pattern piece for the bodice, and there was no instructions included in the pattern. So that was really fun to attempt. Anyway, sorry, scratches. Gosh, she needs wheels. So it's got this kind of wrap front here, and then the other side comes through like a gap there. It looks very nice on screen. I really liked this dress, but I do not wear it. So this dress is going to be, I'm going to change the bodice for this with no buttons and wear it as a pinafore, with a blouse underneath. So it's V9182, very easy vogue. It also has multiple bust sizing. I won't change the skirt, though it will have a similar look. I will just do the bodice, and I love that it has this shaped seam there. So fingers crossed, I will be able to get this I'll get this into this. I hope there's enough fabric. There also, I can utilise the fabric from the sleeves. It will be more difficult to utilise the fabric from the bow because it was cut on the bias, and none of those pieces will be bias cut. So fingers crossed. I think the back will be fine to use, and then I'm just going to unpick the top. The skirt will stay as it is, and I'll just put a new top on. To be honest, worst case scenario, you know, just in case it happens, I know the fabric shop still does sell it, so I could always nip in and get a meter, but it was quite an expensive fabric at the time. It was quite a luxury for me to buy it, so as 100% wool suiting, it was pricey. And then I thought a little blouse in this lawn, this viscose. Oh, that's going to be so nice. Imagine the nice little collar. You cannot see it well at all doing that. Anyway, yeah, this is going to be very pretty. I can feel it already. I had bought this originally for a summer dress, and it's 3 meters, but it's very fine, which means I would have to underline it. And the last time I did that, it was a very time-consuming project. And seeing as it goes so beautifully, I will be more than happy to sacrifice the very time-consuming project, which would maybe not be so fun, for a little blouse. I think I'll do the camp shirt, which I made a little while ago. I'll just make another one because I've been wearing it a little while, the other one, and I know the kind of fit issues that I would like to adjust for future ones. So I'm just going to take a little bit wider in the back of the shoulders. The front is perfect, and I might lengthen it a tiny smidgen from what I did last time. But all in all, it's a really lovely blouse to wear. It does obviously need ironing, being viscose, but seeing as I have recovered my ironing board, I don't mind so much. Lovely. Oh, and the last project I have to show you is Jason's special project. It's his squirrel friend. I hope that's in focus. It's from, this is the November, from the November sampler square from the Woodland sampler by the Frosted Stitchery. And I'm going to frame him in a smaller frame and hang it on the wall where I'm trying to create an embroidery hoop wall, because I always wanted an embroidery hoop wall, and I have a few embroideries, and that will just add nicely to it. I used, is it DMC? DMC thread. I'm going with DMC. And I bought the sampler, and then I only used the November square, so it comes with lots of different squares. I think that when the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery does it, when it's a new pattern, you get each month as the month rolls around, and then you do it. I think that's how she does it. It's quite an old one now though, so you just get it all. But I think that's such a sweet project that each month you can just do one little part. So your aim for the month is really small. You don't have to spend a huge amount per month, but then at the end of the year you have a really beautiful project. And because they're like complete pictures each one, there's such a sense of accomplishment. I left out, there was some snow on his branch which I left out, and the branch was very long, so I think it would have come to here, I believe. This was just some linen that I'd had a little while ago. I think it's a Robert Kaufman one, and I just pulled it out of my stash and thought that it would work really well. I perhaps could have gone a little bit darker on the squirrel. I think he's very visible. He's more of a brown squirrel than a grey squirrel, but I'm happy with that. And his acorn is so sweet. He's so happy about his acorn. Jason saw it already by accident, and he was not pleased. Mission accomplished. He said if the squirrel sees it, that he'll think it's an invitation to stay. The squirrel is not in the house, it's in the roof, so presumably he thinks the squirrel is getting into our actual house, making itself a cup of tea and just enjoying the home while we're not here. And obviously whilst he's on the way to the kitchen, if he were to see his portrait, he may think that he lives there and just move into one of the bedrooms. That's not what happens, but you know, I think that's a very sweet thought. If the squirrel is wanting to come for a cup of tea, he's more than welcome. The kettle's downstairs. I'll leave him a teacup. So yeah, I didn't know whether to do any text or anything, but I just thought we'll just do the little squirrel, and then anyone who sees it thinks it's just a lovely little squirrel, and then anyone who knows the story can have a chuckle. You know, so it's win-win. Yay! I have done a tiny little bit of work on my English paper piecing. I did a few more of the, I'm going to call them rosettes. I don't know what they're called. And yeah, we've got quite a few now. The middles are all, the fabric here is all Liberty. And obviously Liberty is quite expensive, so you only need a little bit of the Liberty and then more of the coloured fabric, so you can be a little bit more frugal with your coloured fabric and a little bit more indulgent with this one because you need much less of it. So I'm really happy with how they're coming out. I have included 2 more fabrics than originally, and I'll show you those when I've done them. And those were from a present I got at Christmas, so I thought I would include those, and they're also a little bit of Liberty. Those are lawn. This is a different cotton. I don't know, do they have a quilting cotton? I just like bought a little stack of fat quarters, so they were not labelled as to what they were. But it's not going to matter that it's a slightly different fabric. I'm happy with that. And by the time, and you know, this is a different manufacturer than this and this. They're all from different brands, so they're all very slightly different. And yeah, they've all got a tiny bit of a different weave and a different feel to them, but they're more or less the same kind of thickness, and none of them is completely sheer. So I've been enjoying that. Oh, it's the back. And the teeny tiny stitches. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to proceed after I finish these, but I thought I would just keep making them. I thought maybe 3 of each outside colour, so 3 of the mustard, 3 of the green, 3 of the blue. I've got almost a red, like a berry, slightly more towards the pink than the red colour, and a mint. So I thought we'd do 3 of each of those, and then I can just lay them down and just judge where I am. But yeah, it's been such an enjoyable project. I've been leaning a little bit more towards these kind of small projects recently with the cold weather, and my house is in a town called Shrewsbury, and I took some footage for you this morning, because I walked into the town from the little hill that I live on top of, and I managed to get into the town around the flooding, and then on the way back I couldn't get back, so I had to find an alternate route all the way around a bigger bridge. Gosh, it took a long time, but the whole riverbank has just swollen. The river has swollen over the riverbank into people's houses, and it's just insanity. And there's been really bad weather, bad winds. We've had the storm Kira, now the storm Dennis, and I mean, I didn't really see that bad weather. It was a bit grim outside, but the level of water is insanity. So when there's that kind of weather and it feels all kind of grotty outside, it's really nice to pick up this kind of a project rather than like a big project like this, where I have to unpick everything and press it all flat, and I need to be quite active in the workroom and between the iron and the machine. And I think a nice snuggly project where you've got all the little bits and pieces are the same with my little crochet project as well. You just, you know, piece by piece, and you chug along whilst watching an episode of whatever you're watching, and yeah, that's such a nice thing. So fingers crossed I can get to work tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure I'll be able to. So, I mean, I won't complain if I can't go to work. I will more than happily sit and do that dress. But that's very unfair to the other girls. They'll be working so hard. I will judge it tomorrow. If the train station's closed, it's closed, and if I can't get over the river because it's too overflown, then so be it. Oh, what a shame. I promised at work to show one of my colleagues a bit of embroidery, because we've been encouraged to bring in some, we're very quiet at work at the moment, so to kind of skill share and to teach each other the skills that we all possess. So I have a colleague who's very good with illustration. One of the girls is very good with alterations on fur, so she'll show us how to make kind of fur pom-poms and things. You have to use a special machine. Instead of the needle going down, it comes kind of at you, and there's two wheels that you squish the fur between these two wheels. Very interesting. So everyone's got a different knowledge, and I have more of a crafty based knowledge. And a bit of pattern cutting and things, so I thought I would maybe bring some of my embroidery bits and pieces and show them how to do some hand monogramming. So I would enjoy that if we could do that this week. Anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of tidying for the rest of the day, and I think I will unpick the bodice of this, and I think I'll do a toile just to make sure the fit is spot on, and if I like the dress, of course I can make it in other fabrics, because it's such a waste when you've pattern cut something beautifully and it fits lovely and you only make it once. Hardly worth the effort. You may as well make 2 or 3. Once they're in a different fabric, no one notices that it's the same dress. Like never, no one has ever noticed. I think I have 4 of exactly the same dress in totally different fabrics. No one's ever noticed. And you can always just whack a ruffle on the bottom or a different little strap or something. Brilliant. Also, as it is Shrove Tuesday, I'm going to have pancakes for dinner. Oh, I'm going to have pancakes for dinner. And I'm making semla buns, which are a beautiful Swedish puffy cardamom bun. We cut the top off it and fill it with cream and some marzipan. So, yay. Is it Shrove Tuesday? That's what it's called. Fat, some people call it Fat Tuesday as well. Fat Tuesday. Happy Fat Tuesday. I will see you soon, and hopefully be swishing about in that one, because you know it's got a full skirt, so you have to swish. It's been lovely to see you, and enjoy the last smidgen of February as we go into spring. See you soon. Bye.